When Mom found out her daughter and brother were in the bathroom, she screamed uncontrollably. At a time when most siblings would be fighting and arguing all the time, Susie and Timmy formed an unusual friendship. They were best buddies for life. No one loved each other more than Susie and Timmy, who were 7 and 5 years old, respectively. Susie helped her little brother out a lot as the bigger sibling, since her parents had lived carefree lives. Susie had to figure out a lot about life on her own or with the help of her instructor, who was there whenever she needed her. Her small brother benefited from all of her knowledge. With just each other for support, they made it through life. They were still kids. And no matter how tough they were, they needed their parents to value them beyond what they could provide materially. They fought tooth and nail to prove to their parents that they were thinking, feeling, and could make sense of the world if they would only listen and teach them. Regrettably, it appeared that this never materialized. Everything became much worse when Timmy fell ill. He felt nauseous every single day. Their parents assumed he was merely attempting to skip out on going to school because it happened at the beginning of the school year. After Timmy claimed he occasionally felt like throwing up after eating and that his stomach hurt, they became quite angry. Timmy was still untreated for 6 months, and he continued to deteriorate. The nighttime vomiting made his situation much worse. Susie told their parents that Timmy was vomiting up food, but they thought it was just indigestion and that he would be all right the following day. Since the siblings could not persuade their parents that Timmy was truly ill and suffering from a loss of dignity, they made the decision to stop bothering them. As a result of her intense feelings for Timmy, Susie reasoned that no one else could possibly care for him. He was never left alone by her. As time went on, it became second nature to hold him and attend him when he vomited. This eventually became an everyday occurrence as its frequency increased. Constantly, Timmy thinned out, became paler, and weaker. They took note of his condition at school, but when they questioned Timmy's parents about his health, they denied it outright. They made excuses by claiming he was just going through a phase of not eating much, which they said was typical for kids his age. He will resume his regular eating habits and look well soon, they promised, reassuring everyone that it was not an illness. In the meantime, Timmy's focus and energy were fading, and he was having a harder and harder time keeping meals down. He wasn't as engaged as the other kids in class and had trouble paying attention. He was most at ease lounging in the sun, when he frequently nodded off. Though many took note of his illness, only Susie could tell for sure that he was unwell. That someone would see him soon was her last hope. Their mom entered the restroom one night and saw something she hadn't anticipated. Susie was there to support her younger brother as he struggled to control his violent vomiting, which appeared to be ripping him apart from the inside out. Their mom now understood how long she had been oblivious to Timmy's pain when he turned to look at her after finishing. In utter disbelief, she began to scream. She was unaware of the cause of her son's illness, but his illness had persisted for some time, and it was plain to see, though they hadn't paid notice. The kids had informed them. The siblings resorted to fending for themselves, acting as if they were in the wrong, and trying to blend in as much as possible. Because they were both so little, Susie and Timmy failed to grasp the gravity of Timmy's condition while he suffered through untreated vomiting and abject misery. They had no idea that careless parents who hadn't watched over them were to blame. Not them. Timmy admired Susie because she genuinely wanted to make her brother feel better. She was the one person who would constantly have his back and was his greatest cheerleader. Their parents, on the other side, were clueless about the meaning of love and compassion. Timmy complained of stomach pain countless times. But no one paid attention since they thought he was just being immature and trying to avoid eating. They failed to see the possibility that their youngster was indeed ill and that his repeated reports of discomfort were unusual. Some parents feel overwhelmed by the title and end up ignoring their children because they think their role is just to provide for basic needs like food and shelter. A parent needs to be held accountable if they refuse to accompany their child on all of life's journeys. Provide them with wisdom and guidance, and mold them into decent human beings. It was the perfect wake-up call for Timmy's parents. When Timmy's fragile body appeared unable to resist any longer, the doctors gave them that tough night. The emergency room was his current location. When they eventually received the diagnosis, the entire medical staff was devastated. Even though it took them a long time to figure out what was wrong with him and conduct a battery of tests, it was being told that Timmy could have beaten his deadly cancer a long time ago if his parents had listened. Both Timmy's parents were devastated. Timmy's dad felt like the world's worst man, even if he had pleaded for their attention from the start. How was it that his son was about to die? Even Susie, who begged them daily to get her brother to the doctor, was disregarded when they turned a blind eye to their son's suffering. The parents' own sloth and disgusting behavior were so unbelievable to them, even if it was well-deserved. The hospital lectures made them feel much worse. Some of the nurses just couldn't bring themselves to talk to Timmy and his family again after the medical staff repeatedly reprimanded them during his stay at the hospital. It became apparent after a couple of weeks that they had come too late. Despite everyone's efforts to save Timmy at any cost, rescue efforts for the youngster were futile. As she sobbed and wished for relief, his sister took solace in the knowledge that Timmy had said his final words specifically to her. He reassured her that he would be keeping an eye on her from above and thanked her, wishing her happiness. He found solace in wanting her to know that he was ready to sleep now. As he took his last breath, Timmy appeared serene and serenely beautiful. The realization that their kid had perished as a result of their carelessness would haunt his parents forever. They attempted to make amends by showering Susie with attention. But Susie was capable of standing on her own 2 feet. The rift between her and her parents was never mended, even when she matured and found ways to forgive them, though it continued to hurt. Thinking about Timmy served as an inspiration to her daily. Growing up, she never wavered from the mission she had set for herself after saying farewell to her younger brother: to create a hospital to treat cancer in children. Until she succeeded, she kept going. Susie became an icon in her nation's battle against children cancer, and she poured her heart out to everyone she could in her final days. The memory of her brother never stopped moving her, even after all these years had passed.
After watching the first story above, do you have any thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Now, let's watch another similar story. A father looks more closely at the birth of his black child and yells in terror, "I really hate to break it to you, Mrs. Herbert, but you just cannot conceive," the doctor said. The couple who were sitting in his office, the Herbert siblings, Aaron and Rachel, looked at him in shock. The news they had just heard was unbelievable to them. Rachel firmly expressed her disbelief by aggressively shaking her head. She refused to believe this could be true. Aaron wanted to know if the doctor thought they had done the test properly. It was a sorrowful nod from the doctor. With tears flowing down her cheeks, Rachel threw her head back and slammed her eyes shut, trying to drown out the voices of the doctor and her husband. She was overwhelmed by the knowledge and her emotions. The doctor, however, was far from done. He elaborated that Rachel suffered from endometriosis, a disorder in which tissue that resembles the uterine lining grows outside the uterus, obstructing fertilization and embryonic development. When Rachel heard this, she became quite emotional, after turning to watch his wife frantically leaving the doctor's office while yelling, "No, this can't be happening." Erin heard the chair scrape loudly. She shouted, "It's not possible." While gnashing her teeth and gripping her hair, after she stepped outside, Erin stayed behind to reassure her. He took hold of her hand and reassured her that they would overcome this obstacle as a team. She snatched her hand away from his. "It won't be all right, Erin. The doctor said something, didn't he?" She yelled out. "You know what baffles me? Why did God allow this to happen to us? We serve him and love him," she asked her husband, her sorrowful expression betraying her deep feelings. Erin's brow furrowed in bewilderment. Hers was the embrace he extended. "My dear, you shouldn't say things like that. We are both aware that we have no right to doubt God's judgments or purposes. He has a purpose for allowing things to transpire. Your faith must remain unshaken in the face of this," he reassured her. Rachel cried into his arms when she remembered what she had done. "Erin, you are aware of my immense affection for children. I have prayed for numerous expectant mothers, volunteered at orphanages, and assisted those vulnerable children in finding loving homes. Is this the exchange I make?" While holding her spouse in the corridor, she sobbed uncontrollably. Curious onlookers wondered what had transpired. Some people came to the realization that a loved one had died. The kind of loss that the couple had just undergone remained unknown to them. After just 1 year of marriage, Rachel and Erin made the decision to start a family. After much unsuccessful trying to conceive, they decided to undergo medical testing, which is how they learned this devastating news. They were devout Christians who served God with all their hearts as missionaries for the Presbyterian Church. Kids were Rachel's favorite. She volunteered for many organizations before getting married, helping out in places like foster care, children's hospitals, and orphanages. Through her efforts, about 500 children were rescued from the streets and placed with loving families. A little girl who had recently found a new home came up to Rachel and embraced her warmly one day while Rachel was working at an orphanage. She expressed her gratitude to Rachel for providing her with a chance to improve her life and secure her future. For Rachel's progress, she was eternally thankful. Rachel had an overwhelming longing to start a family of her own at that very moment. Her heart's desire was to pour out the compassion and love she felt. Her world crumbled when she learned she couldn't give birth. Every second brought fresh pain from her tragedy, and the days passed painfully slowly. In a nutshell, Rachel stopped being herself. Concern for her health was a major concern for her husband, Erin. It hurt his heart to watch his wife so detached from life, but he could handle that she stopped acting as if he existed. She wanted nothing more than to stay home and sleep. She had even stopped going to church and volunteering. For the very first time, he was at a loss as to how to assist his wife. After a couple of weeks, everything changed. While the pair was fast asleep one night, Rachel sprang to her feet and screamed uncontrollably. Her knees buckled under her weight when she prayed and sobbed intensely. She had done it for no apparent reason, and Erin was taken aback. He had no choice but to join her in prayer and watch over her to ensure she didn't damage herself. Rachel eventually composed herself and calmed down. 2 hours later, she started telling Erin what had happened when they sat on the bed. She described a dream she had in which she heard a baby cry. It was the sound that led her to a small black girl. With a smile, the young girl remarked, "Mommy, I'm coming to you. Simply have faith in God." Erin was taken aback upon learning this. Rachel expressed to him her regret for allowing her faith to falter. She told Erin that she now knew why she was unable to become pregnant. God desired for them to have non-Caucasian children, despite the fact that they were white. She thought they were destined to produce black children. With a sigh of relief, Erin gave her a tender glance and an embrace. His spouse had returned. A week later, Rachel received a call from a friend of the couple informing her about a Mississippi adoption agency. She described how no one wanted their 2 black children, Ford and Catherine. Hearing this, Rachel started crying since she thought it was God's doing. She informed her pal that she and her spouse would be stopping over right away. Erin and Rachel went to the agency the next day to visit the children. Love was felt right away. Rachel had been afraid that the children wouldn't get along with her or that she wouldn't like them, but when they spotted Ford and Catherine, it was all over. A shy 3-year-old boy named Ford and his elder sister Catherine approached Aaron and Rachel. Intrigued that these strangers were paying them a visit, the couple fell in love with the innocent children right away. Rachel bent over them both, giving them a warm embrace and pledging to love and care for them no matter what. The couple happily welcomed the 2 kids home once the adoption procedure was completed, realizing a lifelong dream, but they were unprepared for the difficulties that were to come. After noticing the new kids, their neighbor next door paid them a visit the following morning. Knowing Rachel's infertility from her employment at the hospital, she laughed cruelly and implied that they might have taken someone else's children because they couldn't have their own. Her distrust and insensitivity caused much pain to Rachel when she insisted on seeing the official adoption documents. Aaron was a wonderful family man who was there for Rachel and their kids no matter what, consoling her when she felt belittled. He made sure the kids had all they needed in their lovely home because he loved them so much. Although raising Ford and Catherine brought them delight, their happiness was not shared by everyone in the neighborhood. Some made nasty and impolite comments criticizing their choice to adopt children of a different race. When an elderly white woman saw Aaron with his kid during a supermarket shopping trip with Ford, she exhibited shock and accused Aaron of making fun of and tormenting the boy. Another time, a black mother shook her head in disapproval, highlighting the continuous difficulties the family was facing as a result of cultural biases. Some were unimpressed with the family and thought the couple had made a mistake, but there were also many who were quite touched by them. A young black woman broke down in tears when Aaron told her with pride that the boy with her skin tone was his son. She declared that more people like Aaron and his wife were needed in the world and congratulated them for their decision. Aaron and Rachel had an unshakable affection for their children. No matter who came into contact with them, they were as devoted to their children as if they were their own offspring, and they never treated them any differently. They took great pride in their children. They were a happy family living their lives together, not knowing what was to come. At first, they were happy with their 4 kids, Catherine included, and they had no intention of adopting any more. Aaron and Rachel, however, were moved when they discovered a nationwide embryo donation institution that offered an adoptive home for extra embryos after IVF procedures. Enthralled by Rachel's chance to become a mother and give birth, they chose to adopt twin embryos from the donation clinic, which was a double miracle for them. After excitedly telling their close friends and family about their news, they threw a little celebration to thank everyone who had helped them and to mark their newfound happiness. As visitors applauded the newlyweds, there was excitement and joy in the air at the reception. The news that Ford and Catherine would soon have 2 additional siblings to play with excited them. Rachel was chatting with visitors during the celebration when someone suddenly yelled, "Rachel, you're bleeding." Rachel was shocked to see blood on her dress as she looked down. Rachel was helped to their room by Aaron, who hurried to her side and gave the order for someone to summon their family physician. Rachel was carefully placed on the bed after she woke up in a panic. She expressed her worry of losing their children by gripping Aaron's shirt and crying. Aaron, who was just as scared as she was, tried to comfort her by telling her that everything will be okay. Upon arrival, the physician examined Rachel and recommended that Aaron send her to the hospital right once for additional assessment. As there appeared to be signs of cervical bleeding, Rachel was admitted to the hospital for a few days, but she assured them that she just needed rest. Aaron paced tensely outside the labor chamber, hoping for both Rachel's health and a safe birth of their babies. A short while later, a smiling nurse came out to congratulate Aaron and let him know that he may now visit the mother and kids. With a big smile on his face, Aaron entered the room and saw Rachel sound asleep. He walked up to the baby's crib and they screamed in horror to see that there were 3 newborns instead of 2. He was ecstatic and couldn't believe it. When Rachel awoke and saw Aaron's look of amazement, she giggled and gestured for him to come to the bed. When he got closer, she told him how the doctors had determined that one of the embryos had split, and how the 3rd baby had stunned them during labor. Since 3rd children were uncommon, the 3rd child was truly a miracle. Aaron, at last overcome with gladness, burst into happy tears. As they thought back on their amazing trip together, he gave Rachel a strong hug. They were unable to comprehend their blessings and luck. Grinning, Aaron stepped over his newborn triplets' cradle to greet them. He was moved by the baby's gorgeous black complexion and found it difficult to contain his tears. He murmured, "Don't worry, my dear children, your mother and I are so glad you're here at last. When we bring you all home to meet your older brother and sister, we can't wait." When they eventually brought the triplets home, he shed happy tears. Ford and Catherine, who had been expecting twins, were astounded and delighted to see 3 newborns. Everyone was shocked and amazed at this unexpected turn of events when they learned that Rachel had given birth to triplets. Now that their family was complete, the couple thought, Rachel amazed at how she had gone from not being able to conceive to having all 5 of her children. When she looked at them, she was thankful that God had heard her prayers and had never left her. After hearing about the family's experience, reporters wanted to speak with Aaron and Rachel. With gratitude for life's unexpected turns and their expanding family, the couple joyfully shared their story with the world. They wanted everyone to know about their miracle, which proved that blood and skin color aren't the only defining factors in family. But several people responded with hateful remarks once the interview was published. They resorted to slurs and expressed their outrage at the couple's decisions because they failed to comprehend how a white married couple could have 5 black children. Child Protective Services may have been summoned to look into the matter and perhaps remove the kids from their parents' custody in some cases. Rachel did not let these remarks derail her. Rather, she gave another interview in which she emphasized the need for people to put aside their differences in race and treat each other with dignity. She was adamant about her choice and spoke of her immense love for her children. After reading their inspiring story, many of their supporters took the initiative to launch a GoFundMe page, which ultimately raised more than $100,000. Orphans and displaced youngsters were supported with the funding by providing them with foster homes. The care of these children was directed by Rachel and Aaron, who played an important role in their lives. Love and discipline were the guiding principles of Rachel and Aaron's lives, and they were examples of humanity and compassion to everyone around them. They persisted in lovingly and diligently raising their 5 children. After watching the stories above, do you have any thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. If you enjoyed our video, please like, subscribe, and share our channel. That's all about today's stories. See you next time.